for your second set are the continuation of your irregular verbs that change in the whole stem. Again, doing it in the present tense first because you'll have to recognize these verbs in the present tense in order to do them in the preterite or past tense for your quiz that we'll have most likely Tuesday next week. So we'll keep practicing. But it's that in the present tense. Spanish 1 review. Remember it's the LET to be the location, emotion, temporary, or the place, position, location, action, condition, emotion. Reasons for using estar versus the said that we just did on the previous notes. But what are the conjugations? Good. Do not forget your accents, very clear accents. Okay? On the two eos did and the eos students. Okay? What about tener? What happens with it? Good. And not only is it a go verb, but it's also good. So it's tengo for the yo form. Then tienes, tiene. Tenemos, no change. Why no change? Right. So that's why we call it a shoe or a boot, because it doesn't make the change in the nosotros form ever. And then tiene. Okay. Poner, what's irregular about it in the present tense?
Go verb.
Good. Just a go verb. Okay. Do not confuse poner and poder. What's the difference?
One's ODU change.
Good. So poder, ODUE change to be able to. Poner, to put or place, just a go change in the yo form. Alright, andar is not a verb we've had before, so you can still conjugate it as a regular conjugation. You just didn't know that the meaning meant it's kind of a different walk, so it's not caminar, but it's like you're walking around, you're wandering, you're strolling, like what you do in the hallways. Okay, that's what andar is. Okay, so you're just wandering around. You're not really going anywhere. So on page 12, it tells you it's to go, but to go not really to a specific place. You're just kind of strolling. Okay. Regular conjugations with your AR endings. Okay. So caminar is to walk. Andar is kind of to stroll, I guess. Okay. Poder is what we just talked about, an ODUE change inside the boot shape. Puedo, puedes, puede, podemos, pueden. Okay, but inside the boot shape, you have your UE change. And lastly, saber. We haven't seen it in a while from Spanish 1. Oh, saber kills me. Se. Sabo does not exist. Does not.
Yo no sé sabe.
Exactly. Yo no sé. I don't know. But se, with an accent, very clear accent. If it doesn't have the accent, what is it? Reflexive pronoun, which is not what we're looking for. Okay? So say with an accent, and just, it's not on your sheet, but conocer is the other to know. That goes with it normally, and it's also just irregular in the yo form, conozco. ZCO at the end, so CONO, ZCO. The rest of the conjugations are regular conjugations. In the present tense.
Oh no.
Same exact verbs in the preterite past tense. Open up your books to page 12. Okay, so we're switching from present to preterite. At the top of your paper, a couple of reminders there. Go through it. It's a little bit hard to read. Just review from ones we've already covered. Hacer is HIC or HIZ for the stem. Okay. Querer is QUIS. Venir to VIN. Decir to DIJ. Did any of those have any accents? Nope. None will, or neither will, the ones that we're about to talk about. So not a single accent on any of these verbs. They have the whole stem change. So not just a stem change, E to IE, which doesn't exist in the preterite. So E to I or ODU basement, things like that. None of that. Okay. Technically, we're going to call them special endings because where you normally get accents, they're technically AR endings for the yo form and the el eo stead form, just with no accents. Okay. But for these verbs in the preterite, the verb estar, same meaning. It just changed from I was somewhere to I went, or I'm sorry, I am somewhere to I was somewhere, from present tense to preterite tense. Okay. I realize that estar is an AR verb. However, because it's coupled with this family of verbs, it's going to use that same set of special endings. So you're still going to use your ER and IR endings here, but you're using AR endings here with no accents. Okay. But the beginning part of it, the whole stem change for the first part is estuv, E-S-T-U-V. And then you add your E with no accent, I-S-T-E, O with no accent, I-M-O-S, I-E-R-O-N. Those are going to be your set of endings for this family of verbs. Okay? All right, tener. So to have, but in the past tense had, what is the whole stem change for the beginning?
T-U-V.
Tuve. Good. With your same endings. So tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvieron. Okay? Then poner. To put or place, or you put something somewhere, or you place something somewhere. What is the beginning part?
Yes.
Good. And what's the cat's name in Shrek 2? Puss in Boots. So that may help you remember that one. Puss put something somewhere. He forgot where it was. Okay, same endings. Alright, then the verb andar. You walked or strolled around somewhere. Again, and you can look on page 12, it has a note about it being to go but not to go somewhere specific. Okay. What is the beginning whole stem change for andar? Good. A-N-D-U-V, so anduv. And then your new set of endings. Anduve, anduviste, anduvo, anduvimos, anduvieron. Always good to write down your a vosotros form, but you won't be responsible for it. Again, and that is the other AR verb that is still using ER and IR endings in these three places, and then AR endings for these two with no accents, just because it's part of this family of verbs that uses this set of endings. Alright, on page 13 in your book, you have poder. This is one that oftentimes people try to write in sentences, and you want to say, I can do something, and they go to the dictionary, and then they try to find the verb to can, and there is no verb to can, unless you're maybe canning a vegetable. But you're able to do something, so you could do something in the past tense, or you were able to do it. What's the beginning part of poder? Could. I will go ahead and tell you that people confuse these two because they're very similar. So be careful. Poner pus, poder pud. And then your endings. Okay? Look also on page 13. It tells you that it's not just to be able to in the past tense, but can also mean managed to or tried in the past tense as well. Okay? And again, poder was an O to UE change in the present tense, but UE changes don't happen in the preterite. Okay?
So would it be like could?
Yeah. I could do something, or I was able to do something. And saber, to know information or how to do something versus conocer, which is to know person or place. What is your beginning part? Soup, except for not the kind you eat. That's your feet.
Sopa.
Well, right, exactly. Spanish would be sopa, but in English it sounds like soup. Supe, supiste, supo, supimos, supieron. Okay. And again, on page 13, under the note number 4 there, it tells you special meanings for some of these verbs. I will not make you responsible for the alternate meanings of these verbs in the preterite tense. There's a whole explanation as to why that you don't need to know yet, which you'll do when we do the comparison of preterite versus imperfect in Spanish 3. But just know that if you know the regular meanings that we did from Spanish 1, you don't need to know the special meanings, which we'll do later. You will, though, obviously be responsible for your conjugations of your verbs.
We won't need to know special meanings unless we go to Spanish 3.
Right, when you actually do the comparison of preterite versus imperfect.